What's up? Today I want to show you my favorite camera accessories for videography. That's important to mention here. I do a bit of photography on the side, but mainly video. And most of those accessories are travel friendly because I prefer those small things that make life behind and in front of your camera a bit easier. And it will also be mostly camera independent. I'm shooting Fujifilm right now and also Sony. Also shot Canon and Panasonic in the past, so there will be something for everyone in this video. So I would say let's get into it. Let's start with microphones. That's not camera independent, but I have a few more, no worries. I used quite a few microphones over the years, but those three here are my favorites. I want to start with the Rode VideoMic NTG because that's overall the most versatile microphone. And if I would have to choose one microphone, then that would be it, simply because of its versatility. And what I mean with versatility is that you can use it at first as an on-camera shotgun microphone for vlogging or generally when you want to capture audio outside. But you can also connect it to your computer as a USB-C microphone so that you can use it for podcasting, but also for voiceovers. And that's what I use it for pretty much all the time. When you hear a voiceover in my videos, that's done with this microphone. And you can also use it as a boom mic, which means that you can position it just out of frame, but slightly above and in front of your head, so that your voice sounds better, because the closer a microphone is to your mouth, the better it sounds. And generally I find that shotgun microphones like that one sound a bit better than omnidirectional microphones like lavalier mics, etc. And additionally, it has all the filter options. Like, it has a low cut filter to cut out the lower frequencies if you have some rumbling going on or an AC or so in the background. And you can also boost the higher frequencies a bit if you have a lower voice to make it sound a bit more rich. Plus, you can also smoothly adjust the audio levels here. The only downside of this microphone is really when you want to put it in your bag, that you usually have to take it apart because it might break if there's too much pressure on your bag, like not the microphone itself, but the mount here. And that doesn't make it that travel friendly, I find, but you usually always find a spot to put it in. And that leads me to the next microphone, the MKE 400 from Sennheiser, which also sounds really good, but it comes with a few less filters and you can't adjust the levels as smoothly as on the NTG. There's also no USB-C function, etc. So it's a lot less versatile overall. But as mentioned, it sounds pretty good. And as you can see, like, it doesn't have this mount as the NTG mic. So it fits better in your bag. You can just throw it in there without worrying that anything might break. And so far also nothing broke, and I have my bag sometimes pretty tight. So it does a good job for general travel vlogging, etc. But therefore it's not as versatile. So you might have to purchase another microphone for voiceovers and as a boom mic. And that's why overall you would spend probably a bit more money if you buy this mic, which is why I would generally prefer the NTG. And that also leads me to the next microphone here, which is the Sony ECM-B1M microphone. You can only use it with Sony cameras because it does not plug in with a cable. This is actually the main feature that I really love about this microphone. There are no cables anymore. You just put it in and it works. You don't have to worry that your cable is maybe slightly out a millimeter or so that you don't see and the audio doesn't get recorded. That's all stuff that happened to me in the past, and it does not happen with this microphone. What I also really like about this microphone is the audio quality. It's not actually a shotgun microphone, even if it looks like that. It has like 8 mic capsules on top, and it uses some digital magic to enhance the audio from those capsules, and that means that you get really crisp audio even if the subject sometimes is far away. And then it also comes with all those filters. You can smoothly adjust your levels here. You can record only the audio in front of you, but also from the back, or both at the same time. If you have a conversation, a vlog with another person that you film right now, for example, that's good. So everything that you need in this microphone, but without cables. So if you're a Sony user, you should definitely have a look into that. But if you're not, or if you want to be sure that you can also use your microphone with other cameras in the future, definitely go for the Sennheiser or the Rode VideoMic NTG. But so much about microphones, let's talk about memory cards. So those are the 3 memory cards that I use all the time and recommend. At first, I use for SD cards the V90 TUF cards from Sony. Not necessarily because they are the strongest. I used SanDisk before, the V30 cards, but I just want my cards to be fast because I hate it when I come home and I have like 50 gigabyte of footage or more, and it takes like 20-30 minutes or more to copy all the files on my computer. Might not be a big issue for many people, but for me, I just like to have it fast. And that also leads me to those cards. Here's all the Per-Gear CFast Express Type B and Type A cards. I use the CFast Express Type B card here with the Fujifilm X-H2S and Canon R5 for about 1.5 years. and I currently use the CFast Express Type A card from Pergear with my Sony cameras. And what I really love about those cards is also just the speed. They're even faster than V90 cards. Like the CFast Express Type A card here has a maximum record speed of 880 megabyte per second and 400 megabyte per second write speed. And the CFast Express Type B card here has 1600 megabyte per second read and 1300 megabyte per second write. I think the sustained is a bit lower, but from my testing they're always super fast. Of course, the CFast Express Type B cards here are the fastest. And the problem with those cards is that people generally think that they are super expensive, which most of them are, but not those Pergear cards here. The CFast Express Type A 260 gigabyte card that I have here costs only $179, again for 260 gigabyte, which is $0.69 per gigabyte. And then you have also an 80 gigabyte version of this card if you want to spend less money for $89, which equals $1.11 per gigabyte. And for the CFast Express Type B card here, you have a 512 gigabyte card for $199, and that equals $0.39 per gigabyte. Of course, I have the 1 terabyte here. It's a bit more expensive, but I think most people don't need 1 terabyte. 512 is plenty. Now, if we take those Sony TUF cards here, the 128 gigabyte version is $173, which equals $1.35 per gigabyte. So those Pergear cards here are actually cheaper and faster than those V90 Sony cards. Of course, there are cheaper SD cards. I think V90 from Lexa, for example, that you can save some money, or if you want slower cards, then definitely as well. But considering that those Pergear cards are not that expensive and you get a lot of speed there, I prefer those cards all the time, and I always want my main camera to have CFast Express. I do prefer Type B because it's faster, but even Type A on Sony now is pretty good. Now, when it comes to my experience with those cards, those CFast Express cards, when it comes to writing, I never had any issues. On Canon with the CFast Express Type B, I did not have any issues at all. On Fujifilm, I had sometimes that I couldn't play back certain files, but I also saw in some forums that people have similar issues with other CFast Express Type B cards on Fujifilm, so I think that's not on the card actually, because again, I did not have any issues at all on when I shot Canon. And the same counts now for the CFast Express Type A card on Sony. I used this card now for about 6 weeks or something like that on the Sony A9 Mark III, and I did not have a single issue, so very good performance here. And as far as I know, those CFast Express cards are generally a bit safer to use than SD cards, like the failure rate is a bit lower. Correct me if I'm wrong, I just read that somewhere, so I think that is true, but yeah, it's not like that, it's from my own experience or so. Enough about memory cards, let's come to tripods now. The tripod that has been my favorite over the past 2 months or so has been a new Freewell travel tripod. I would not call it a perfect travel tripod. I will talk about that in a minute, why not? But it's overall my favorite one simply because of the weight. I think it's like 900 grams or so, definitely less than a kilo. And every time when I want to go out traveling and I have both tripods in my hands, I can feel the weight difference to my Peak Design carbon fiber travel tripod. So I usually bring the Freewell tripod. You probably know about this tripod already. It's quite nice. Like you can fold the legs pretty quickly. That's important to set everything up because you don't want to stand there for hours, right? Then you also have a kind of fluid head, which is good if your hands are a bit more shaky than mine. I personally don't really need that, but if you have shaky hands, then you can get smooth panning shots and tilting shots with that. That's pretty cool. It also comes with an Arca Swiss plate, which includes a phone mount. That's good if you're into iPhone videography or so. And what I found quite nice when I hike, especially what no one talked about before, you can use that grip here from the kind of fluid head to put the tripod into your sternum strap like that and just walk like that, so you can quickly access the tripod, always put your camera there and put it somewhere. That makes everything even quicker to set up, because usually you would have to take your back down and take it off the side of your back, because usually like having it over your shoulder doesn't really work, so that makes everything a bit quicker. But there's one downside to this tripod, which I think Peak Design with their carbon fiber travel tripod, which was my favorite tripod before, does a bit better, and that is that safely safety lock feature here. Like you have those square quick release plates from Peak Design always. Put your camera inside here and then you can lock it. And that lock is super nice because you can just put the tripod over your shoulder while the camera is still on top, knowing that the camera will not go anywhere. It can't fall down, and it never did. Like I always like walk around like that. So it's good for hiking if you want to set a lot of shots, but also when I have my shot list and I just quickly need to change camera angles all the time and I'm outside shooting some of my videos, and I prefer that because I constantly move the tripod around and there is a risk that the camera would fall down. I actually had that multiple times with all sorts of other tripods, including the freewheel one actually, that the camera was slightly loose and it could have fell down. I just recognized it luckily in the last moment, it could fix it. That's why I would really wish that Freewheel would come up also with maybe a pro head for this tripod or something like that, where they essentially have a similar system. Of course, I don't want them to copy Peak Design here, but I think having some sort of security locking mechanism that makes it possible to just carry it over your shoulder so would be awesome. And with that also comes that I would personally never use this quick release plate because I always use square quick release plates here. It mustn't necessarily be from Peak Design, or also other brands that offer square Arca Swiss quick release plates. So for now, I think there is no perfect travel tripod. There are just two very, very good travel tripods, Freewheel and the Peak Design one. Must say, however, that I do think most people would probably get the Freewheel one instead of the Peak Design simply because of the price difference. I think it's $250 compared to $600 for the Peak Design. It's at least what I paid before. I think it's pretty clear what tripod offers the better value. Oh, and I nearly forgot to mention that here my next favorite tripod is the PJY Tech Mantis Pod. I actually used the one before, but I forgot it in my motorbike. I'm showing the second version here. But yeah, those are my favorite small tripods because you can quickly put them everywhere. Like I can hang them down from somewhere when I want to vlog, or I can hold it like that, or I can quickly put it in a lower angle, which is much lower as I would get quickly with those two tripods here. So that also allows sometimes 4 angles that I couldn't get quickly otherwise. So PJY Tech Mantis Pod, if you do a lot of vlogging, that's what you want to get. Okay, let's talk filters, variable and defilters. I know, boring topic, but they are important to get this motion blur effect. The ones that I use most of the time are here the Swift system, which basically gives me 1 to 9 stops altogether plus a mist effect. The other one here is the Hader Pro 2 MC CPL VND, which is also quite cool because it offers you the VND, like a variable and defilter, but it also gives you that CPL effect, so you can turn the wheel and therefore change the polarization of the filter without having to unlock the filter from your lens, as it's usually the case. The Hader is only a 3 to 7 stop filter, which is actually very good for most cameras. Like I'm on the A7C Mark II here, for example, right now, which has a base ISO of 800, and with that base ISO, 3 to 7 stops is usually enough. You won't have to change your filters then that often. But when I shoot with my A9 at base ISO 2000, I usually need that 6 to 9 stop filter here, cause it's just too bright otherwise. Otherwise, I would probably only use the Hader simply because of the price. This filter, I don't know it out of my head right now, but it's quite affordable. Nisi is also not expensive compared to other filters, but it's a bit more expensive than the Hader. However, therefore, the Nisi also offers you a bit more features at first, like you can stack the filters, so if you need 9 stops, you get that, and you also get a mist filter for that, for those bloomy highlights, which I also really like. It's also one reason why I use this filter a bit more. And great about both filters is that they are true color, which means that the color shift that you get with those filters is greatly reduced. It's very minimal compared to most other filters on the market, so you would have to do a bit less color correction in post to fix that. But what you can do with any filter anyway is using a gray card, which is what I also want to mention here. I just mentioned it as a side now. You should definitely invest in some gray cards also when you shoot travel videos, because those gray cards, they can not only compensate for color shifts that you eventually get with certain filters, but it's also good for white balancing. Like you can quickly capture the correct white balance for each light situation with those gray cards. There are many tutorials on YouTube here about that. Just search for gray card white balance and you will find plenty, especially for your cameras, like especially Sony and Fujifilm. They do a good job white balancing with those cards, so definitely get some of those. They're like $10 or so, and you would have to do a lot less color grading in post because the colors are correct when you use those cards. Anyway, back to filters. I think if you're looking for your first filter especially, then you should definitely check out the hater filter here, simply because of the price, and it's a pretty good filter overall. But yeah, if you have a bit more money to spend and you might need 9 stops off in the future, or you want to have that mist effect, definitely look into that Nisi Swift system. My voice dies. I'm not used to talking so long. I'm actually an introvert, so I don't talk too much. But when I talk, I actually talk quite loud, which is why most people probably could never imagine that I'm actually an introvert. It's quite weird. And next one is camera carriage while you're on the go. My favorite one here is the Peak Design capture clip together with the Pro Pad. That's there to put it on your belt. Like usually you would put the capture clip on your back here, and then, like that. Then you can just put the camera inside and you're good to go. And with that, you can easily put that on your belt and also walk around with it. And obviously sometimes I also want to use a strap, and there are those hooks here also from Peak Design, which you can just hook in there, and you quickly can connect your sling, or you can disconnect it as well. Now, this Peak Design capture clip is also great at airports, because oftentimes, or pretty much every time, my bag is way too heavy. And what I simply do then, if I have to go to the check-in counter and I have an airline where they might check my bag from experience in the past, I simply put the camera with the Peak Design capture clip on the back, so they can't even see my camera, and that usually gets the weight of my bag down by about 1.3 kilos if I use my heaviest setup, and that can avoid paying extra for overweight carry-on. I think there's not much more to say about those things. If you worry about your camera falling down, I use the capture clip for like 4 or 5 years probably, like very long. I never had it that my camera fell down or anything broke or anything like that. Peak Design even gives you a lifetime warranty on those things, so don't worry, they're great, and this is what I use all the time to carry my camera. And my next favorite accessory is actually something that I never imagined I would mention before in a video like that, which is a light actually. I generally find talking about lights not that interesting, which is actually wrong, because lighting is one of the most important things when it comes to photography and videography, because if your light is bad, there's nothing you can do in the color grade or in your camera to fix that, even if you have the best camera in the world. But the thing with lights before were always that it's pretty big, it takes a while to set everything up, and you would usually not bring lights on your travels because it takes up too much space in your bag. But now there is this Modus X60 light here from Giant, which kind of changes that. I mentioned that already in my recent video light video. That's really the standout feature of the light. Of course, the light itself is also pretty good, like it's accurate, etc. You can even change the color of the light and so on. It's pretty cool. But the main feature is really that you can bring it on your travels, and you can perfectly set up a good light setup in hotel rooms, which look good. Like before, you would usually be at the window, which limits you, or you just get bad lighting in hotel rooms, but with this light it looks a lot better. And now when you shoot at home also, what I also do quite often, you also get batteries with that, so you can just connect the battery to the light, and that helps to set up everything a bit quicker. It's not super cheap, but it's also not as expensive as many other lights are, especially considering how accurate it is. So definitely check that out if you look for a video light and you also want to use it for travel, or you want to be able to set everything up a bit quicker while you're at home. And worth mentioning is also that it comes with a USB-C power, so you can use your MacBook charger, whatever, to power this light. That's also huge, because there are also some other lights out there which are small, but then they come with those huge power bricks, which essentially defeats the purpose of having a small light on your travels, right? That's really something I love about this light when traveling. I can just use my MacBook charger with it. That's also what I want to come to next. This Ugreen charger here, it's a 100-watt charger, and this is what I charge all my devices with. It's not actually a camera accessory, but I use it to power all of my gear, not just my MacBook or the light, etc., but also my camera, drones, and all stuff when I'm on the go. And you see how small that thing actually is, so it also doesn't take up much space in my bag. It comes with 2 USB-C ports and 1 USB Type-A port, which is usually enough because I have my MacBook with me, so if I need to charge more devices simultaneously, I would just charge my MacBook and plug the other devices into MacBook then to charge it. So if you're looking for a small travel charger which has enough power to power all of your devices, then look into that one. Yes, my 16-inch MacBook Pro would usually need, I think, 130 or 140 watts for fast charging, but but I never found the charging with this charger to be slow, so even for that it's perfectly fine. So that were actually all accessories that I wanted to share with you, but I also wanted to mention this lens here again, the Viltrox 27mm f1.2, which is my favorite lens overall. Every time when I use a Fuji camera with this lens, it just looks so good that I don't want to stop using it. Nice thing about this lens is really that you get this extreme sharpness of the in-focus areas, but then the out-of-focus areas, they have a really nice bokeh, and that contrast in sharpness, the depth that you get from this lens looks fantastic. And the lens is also rather affordable compared to other lenses at around $500 or $550. So if you're looking for a great APS-C lens that gives you a really nice look, then definitely look into this lens. But even if you don't shoot Fujifilm, you should have a look at Viltrox over this year and in the future in general, because they just released their lens roadmap for 2024. And there are lots of lenses in their Pro lineup and also a new lineup called Lab, which is even better than their Pro lenses like this one here. There might be some lenses that offer you really good image quality and save you a lot of money, because Viltrox is rather affordable, but not the quality that they bring out is just fantastic. And if you don't believe me, yes, I got this lens for free from Viltrox, but if you don't believe me, just check out some reviews, watch some videos that are shot on this lens, and you will see what I mean. It looks really good. So that's all my favorite camera accessories for now. I hope this was helpful and you found some inspiration to make your videography easier and better. And by the way, you will find links to all of those accessories in the description below. So affiliate links, so I get a small commission if you purchase through those links, but you don't pay anything extra. So if you found this video helpful, or my channel in general, then this is the cheapest way to support me. And yeah, I would say that's it for now. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment, and otherwise I will see you in the next videos. Bye.